Damien ruins horror movies.
What's up, friends? It's time for another December Christmas horror film, and tonight it is called Stalled, as you know. This movie is actually very entertaining, especially for a movie that takes place, like the title suggests, in a bathroom, in a stall. And you'll notice I'm wearing the zombie shirt, which signifies that I'm going to be doing a zombie review. There's a lot of zombie Christmas movies. This will make it. I've done more zombie movies for Christmas than I've done since I've started doing this. It's not that I don't like zombie movies. These are the kind of zombie movies I like, though. I like zombie movies that they take place like the day of the apocalypse. When everything's like the sequels, usually I don't like. It's when the military's involved and everybody's kind of those storylines. I like it. Everyday people who are just like, oh, what the fuck? When I woke up, I wasn't expecting zombies to be around. I like those kind of movies. I like the first ones. Your Shaun of the Deads. It opens with the janitor. His name is WC. And he has to clean the women's bathroom because there's some kind of like stench. And he opens up the vent above and finds a large rodent. But then he hears girls coming, and I don't know, for some reason he's like, uh-oh. Instead of us just not having a movie and him being like, oh, excuse me, girls, the bathroom's closed because I'm cleaning it. Or, oh, I was cleaning it, go on in. Instead, he gets weird and he hides in a stall. But then he's got this phone where these two girls that he kind of works with. I mean, he's a janitor. He doesn't work for the company that's having the party. It's the company, but he's like, I don't know. It's like he has his own boss. The two girls, and they're not wearing a lot of clothing, and he's got this phone, so he decides, I'm going to film these chicks making out. They're getting it on, and they don't know that I'm in here. As one would do, but one of the girls has a bite mark, like this, in the near place like that. And as they're making out, the girl with the bite bites the other girl, and then they've turned, and as they turn, they can sniff and smell that WC's in there, and they go after him. They end up ripping his pants off, and he's down to his boxers. But he escapes. Sorta. He's trapped in the stall. The stalls are weird. This movie is in England, so their stalls go all the way to the ground, but they don't go all the way to the ceiling. So if you walked in, you looked down, you wouldn't see anybody's feet if somebody's dropping a deuce. But you can climb over and be like, hey, are you dropping a deuce? You can do that. So it's kind of weird. But now he's trapped because everybody's a zombie now. And they've all made their way to the women's bathroom, and they're not going anywhere, and neither is he, because he is stuck. And the zombies, they're dumb. They're like, shiny things are neat. And the mirrors are really tripping them out. They're like, hey, a zombie. And they're just like entertained, but kind of hungry and getting really hungry. So WC climbs over into the next stall, and there's a chick in there, and she's like, the toilet seat is on her head, and she's like, it's like she's puking and somebody like stomped on the toilet seat on her head. It's like, put your mouth on the toilet seat! American History X style. And he opens it, and she's like dead, but she's got a cell phone, so he grabs that, and he tries to get back to where he came from. She comes back to life and attacks him. He's like, oh shit. But narrowly he escapes, and he gets back into his little thing. Because these zombies can't climb. Because they're not smart enough. And they just don't. Zombies tend to want to go in a straight line through things. They're not creative. They're not like, oh, I know. What if we climb up? No, they're just like, they walk into the wall, and when the wall's there, they keep walking. Back in WC's stall, he's like frantically trying to figure out a plan, and he hears like whimpering coming down from like the stall next to the one that he was just in. He's like, it sounds like a woman, and it sounds like a person who's not a zombie. So he's kind of like, hey, is somebody over there? And he finds out it's a woman. Her name's Evie. And Evie's like the hot chick in the office. He's like, oh, you're trapped here too? And they make a little small talk. And now he's got extra incentive because he wants to escape. First of all, he wanted to escape for himself because he wants to live. But now he's got Evie. And Evie's like the hot chick in the office that he's wanted to bang. So if he can escape, A, be like, yay, I get to live. B, I'm a hero. I get to bang Evie, who I've always wanted to bang. Woohoo. And it turns out Evie is really cool. And she's funny. She's got a sharp wit. These guys are hitting it off. He's like, wow, can you imagine? There's really no other situation I can imagine where Evie would like me. But now that we're trapped in this stall, our own stalls, and the undead are out there preying on us because they want to eat our brains and our flesh in order to continue their own miserable existence. Now I have a chance with this chick. I think he has a bra from one of the first two girls that were in the bathroom. Somebody's got one of their bras, and he cut some zombie fingertips off. But he comes up with this idea. It's like, well, what if we push the fire alarm? This is so far-fetched and stupid. Because he's using the bra as a slingshot. Like, that's dumb enough. Like, the bra's not going to shoot anything. Then he's got the fingers he's going to shoot. And the finger he's going to aim. It's going to hit the fire like it's, I don't know, and turn on the fire alarm. And then what? What if the fire alarm does go off? Then what happens? You think the fire department are going to come? You think that water's going to turn these zombies into, it's going to make them melt like a horde of wicked witches? But he starts shooting them, and he's like, and he's missing. And then they had mentioned this guy Jeff from IT. He's the hot guy that Evie has a thing for, and he's like, oh. And it was kind of funny because they were talking about it, and he's like, oh, Jeff from IT, yeah, Jeff. Jefferson Airplane. Jeff. I forget all the nicknames they had for him, but he's like the IT stud, which, you know, two words not thrown together very often. She's like, yeah, he's like the hottest guy here. He's like, yeah, a lot of people think that, that him and I are twins. She's like, really? He's like, yeah. People think that we look alike. And I have to correct them all the time. And she's like, well, that's weird because you don't even sound black. He's like, oh, because like clearly he has no idea who Jeff is. But then Jeff walks in, and Jeff has not turned yet. And he's like going to try and save the day. And he comes in, and WC gets distracted. He's like, oh shit, that's Jeff. And he lets go of it. And Jeff's like yelling at the zombies like, get back up. And he shoots a finger right down Jeff's throat. And Jeff starts coughing, choking, and falls right into the zombie horde and gets killed. Or gets turned. So WC's kind of an asshole. It's like, oh my god, you killed Jeff! But the zombies are getting hungrier and hungrier, and they go out and they start going at the stalls. Like, they're going to try and break in if WC can't figure something out to do. And WC, they're in a girl's bathroom. And there's this part, when I saw it, it was like one thing to be like, oh yeah, that might work. But then it's like, it's another thing when you see the zombies like, Peter, fuck yeah. He takes the tampon tin tray thing where girls dispose of it. And he takes that and dumps that over, and the zombies are just like, fuck yeah. And just watching it, I was like, good plan, but Jesus Christ. Ugh. This movie's good. Especially for what it is. For a movie that's like, okay, it takes place, it's like, I'm not going to watch 90 minutes of a guy trapped in a stall. But this movie is like, yeah, yes you are. Once you're in, you give it 15, 20 minutes, you're invested. You're like, what is he going to do? And you feel bad. But then you go through this roller coaster of who this guy is and other shit. And Evie talks him into, is like, well, are you a janitor or you're a maintenance guy? He's like, I'm kind of like both. He's like, well, okay, so you have a toolbox. He's like, yeah. So there's tools in it. There's probably a lot of tools in there that could help us. He's like, oh, yeah. Hell yeah. He's like, except my toolbox, he left it on the sink. And it's way over there. So there's this really elaborate scene where he has to, like, take a ladder. Because there was a ladder. I don't know. He had a ladder. Anyway, he gets his toolbox. And I don't remember. This is where I stopped watching the movie. And then I started watching it again. So I might have missed something. Because he gets the toolbox. And then he's like waking up. Like he got the toolbox, got in, narrowly escaped, then went to sleep. I don't know what happened to this part. Because honestly, UFC was on last night. I stopped the movie. I watched UFC. And then I restarted the movie today. Okay. There you go. So he wakes up. He's got his toolbox. There's money in it. There's a lot of money in it, which is weird because they haven't explained it yet. And then Evie's like, oh, hey, you awake? So I got you a Christmas present even though you hate Christmas. He's like, oh, yeah. And he looks, and I didn't really even see. It's like she threw it. It's like, really? She threw a pill, because it's a pill. It's a pill. It's like this big. She throws it from a stall down, and somehow he's like, oh, you shouldn't have. And at the same time, he's like feeling the wall, and he's like, dude, we are right next to the IT hub. This is the hub. And this wall is not strong. Like, if I could break through this, there's a crawl space, we could get out of here. And the plan sounds good, except that he took the pill, and now he's tripping. But eventually, after like an hour, he comes back. Like, he's not tripping anymore. I don't know what the hell that pill was supposed to be. But now he's back. She's like, hey, dude, are you okay? He's like, yes, I'm back. And why he took it at that moment was weird. It's like, I'm going to save us. Hold on. First, I'm going to have a psychedelic experience that I don't know if it's going to last 10 minutes or 10 hours. But I'm willing to tap into those gods and see. Like, what are you doing? But then somehow it's like she found all this dirt on him while he was tripping. Because she's like, oh, you got fired for stealing toilet paper? And that's why you stole all the charity money from this Christmas party? And he's like, well, no, I didn't steal that toilet paper. I didn't take the money. All right, I took the money, but they deserve it because they accused me of doing something I didn't do. And they've had a lot of heart-to-hearts so far. I didn't want to walk you through all of them. But I mean, they're getting close. They're into each other, and then like stuff happens because they don't know each other. It's like he's in this stall, she's over here. And this is kind of the rom-com scenario. This is like rom-com with, what do they call them, zomcons, where like it's a romantic comedy, but there's zombies in it. This is kind of like a romantic comedy with zombies in it. And she's somehow figuring out, it's like, dude, you're not who you say you are. You're this guy, you're this victim who got fired, but you stole all this toilet paper, and then you stole all this fucking money, and you say I'm supposed to feel bad for you because you haven't talked to your mom in forever, but you live with your fucking mom. He's like, well, yeah, that's true. He's like, so who are you? He's like, well, I'm, And I'm not sure how she knew all this. Like, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, he passed out. Like, did he talk while he was passed out? Was he talking in his sleep? She's like, and then you stole my phone so you could film two girls getting it on in the bathroom? And he's like, well, I didn't even realize that was your phone. I thought it belonged to that fat chick. But the bottom line is WC needs his hammer. Because the wall behind him, it's not built to last. He can get right through it. But he's not going to punch his way through it. He's not going to use his fucking forehead. He needs his hammer. The hammer gets right through. Just then he notices Charlie, his boss, enters the bathroom. And immediately, as if on cue, his boss grabs the hammer. He's like, I got the hammer. And WC's like, God damn it. But the good news is, Charlie, like, just gravitates to the stall that he's in. So he's like, all right, he's coming. Got the hammer. Then he starts, like, trying to break open his stall door with the hammer. But WC manages to, like, get the hammer from him. He's like, all right, I got the hammer. But then Charlie bites him. He's like, oh, no. He falls down. He's like, fuck, I got the hammer. He's like, good news and bad news. Good news is, I got the hammer. Bad news, I just got bit. Fuck, Charlie fucking bit me, which in a way is a good thing. Because Evie hears that and she's like, oh no, oh my god. Because Evie likes him. She's just trying to figure out who he is. And how full of shit he is. Plus, he's the only one that can save her. And now, if he's gonna die, that means she's fucked. And he's like, oh, and they're talking. She's like, well, and so suddenly all that stuff that she was like throwing at him was like, yeah, you're a piece of shit. You lived with your mom. You stole my phone. You do this. You do that. Suddenly it's like, but I can forgive that. But you got the hammer. I can't believe. And then he starts laughing. She's like, what's wrong? She's like, that's stage 1 of turning into a zombie. Is you get delirious and start laughing like a fucking maniac. He's like, huh? He's like, Charlie. He's like, because he looks at his wound and he sees fake teeth on there, like dental. Looks like a retainer with teeth on it. He's like, Charlie didn't have real teeth. The bite doesn't count. He didn't bite me. Which it was the top part of the fake teeth, and it was gross. But it's like, well, did he not have bottom teeth though? I think he might have been penetrated, bro. I think. But as far as the movie goes, it works. To where it's like, we thought, but because now we got Evie and WC are back in good graces together. So WC takes the hammer and he busts through the wall. And he starts making a hole big enough to climb out of. Now the smart move is if you're going to bust through the wall and you got to deal with zombies who are going to break in at any time. And he did mostly smart, but for a while it was like the way he was busting on it, where it's like, okay, can you fit through it? Because if you can fit through it, you can stop hammering. You got to make a whole doorway. Not everybody's supposed to go through it. The smart thing is you make a big hole that you can fit through as high as possible because these zombies can't fucking climb. You don't make one right in the middle that's like, oh, it's like no, they can follow me. You're trying to make a hole for you that you can crawl through, climb up and be like, all right, and then you fall on the other side. But it's going to take them forever to figure out how to get through that hole. I mean, they climb up on each other and whatever. But he does that, and he crawls through, and he makes it all the way down to Evie's stall. And he's, like, letting her know. She knows, like, hey, I'm right here. And she's like, uh-oh. I'm going to break you out. And he starts hammering. He starts whacking her wall. And she's, like, kind of like, maybe you should do something else first. She doesn't want him to get through suddenly. And he hammers through her wall and makes a hole, and he can see her, and her back's turned. And Evie isn't Evie. Evie was never Evie all along. Evie is Heather. Heather the heifer. The fat girl that he stole the phone from. This cool chick that he's been talking to all along hasn't been honest with him either. You ever notice how romantic comedies always do this, where it's like, oh, I fell in love with this person because I thought they were this, but it turns out they're not this, they're this. Well, usually it's a dude who's the asshole pretending to be something that he's not. This time it's the girl pretending to be Evie, and she's like, yeah, you're not gonna want to save me now. He's like, I'll still save you, but at the same time he was like, oh, hey, ooh, I'll still save you. I just wasn't prepared for this. And she's like, I can't fit. I'm fat. I can't fit through that corridor with you. I'm going to slow you down. I have a Christmas present for you, even though I know you hate Christmas. And he's like, what? She's like, and she's got her hand on the lock button on the stall. There's a switch. She's like, I'm going to save you. He's like, don't open that. Don't open that, because he knows that the zombies will come through and kill her. And she's like, Merry Christmas. And she flicks the switch. The door opens. Zombies come and get her. Now, it sounds noble what she's doing, but at the same time, it's like, he is in a completely different spot. Like, if he was in his stall and she opened hers and they all went there, and then that made a pass where he could run out the door, that would have been like, wow, you really martyred yourself and saved my life. But he's in a different spot where it's like, you doing that just got you killed and did nothing for me. You fed zombies. I'm still fucked. And now you're dead. And I don't have you. And he had real feelings for it. Yes, he was disappointed that she didn't look Come on, we all have those crushes. I don't care if you're a girl or a guy. You have that crush on a person where it's like, this person is so beautiful, and you imagine what they're like. For this guy, that's what happened. He's like, I have this big crush on this girl, and then he thinks he's talking to her the whole time. So I was like, wow, this chick is beautiful. She likes me, and she's this cool. He only has a split second to adapt to the fact it's like, this cool chick doesn't look like your fantasy chick. This cool chick is just cool as fuck. But now she's dead. And you're alone. Because he's a lonely guy. He's got no mom. Lives with his mom that won't talk to him. He won't talk to her. So he goes back and ends up back in his stall. I don't know if he found like his secret stash of toilet paper that he didn't actually steal, but there's a lot of toilet paper and he decides, fuck it. But he wraps himself in toilet paper that he didn't steal, like a mummy, and then it's go time. It's like, I'm going to make a run for it. And he gets out and he gets near an elevator, and it's the real Evie. She's on. She's like, do you want in? He's like, because that's got to be a weird, like, seeing the real Evie and thinking you've been talking to the real Evie, and then knowing that the fake Evie died. It's still got to feel kind of like you're seeing a ghost, where you're like, hey man, you just died. I wasn't really talking to you though, but it's kind of, it's like you just lived this whole relationship, and the person died, and then you get out and you're like, and you run to the person that you have the relationship with that you didn't really have the relationship. They're just there in front of you, and you're like, does that make sense? So he gets in the elevator, and it's almost like a second chance. He's like, well, I hit off pretty good with the fake Evie. Maybe I can hit off pretty good with this Evie. But it turns out this Evie sucks. He meets her. She's a piece of shit. She's not fun. Her personality sucks. All she talks about is like, oh, I just made $3,000. That's the highest. But then she made a joke where she dissed on Heather the heifer who just died, that WC is actually in love with. And he's like, you know what? Fuck this bitch. Because WC has learned that it's like, it's not all about looks and vanity and fantasy. It's about connection. Because him and Heather connected. Although Heather got pretty weird with some shit sometimes. But they connected. Heather was funny. I give her that. And so he's like, and she mentioned something about Jeff. Old Jefferson Starship or Airplane, whatever the hell they called him. He's like, oh. She also pointed out, it's like, yeah, I got bit. Jeff bit me. It's kind of weird because she's like, Jeff bit me. He's like, oh, you got a bite. But then he's like, you know what? I'd be better off without you being here. He's like, Jeff's still here. Yeah, if you go downstairs, he's right down there. He was asking about you. She's like, he was? Jeff's like the hot IT guy. So she's like, later. He's like, all right. And WC takes the elevator to the bottom floor. He gets out of the building. He runs in the parking lot. There's a phone booth. He gets in. Per Heather's last request was, you should call your mom and say hi to her, even though he lives with her. So he calls his mom and says, hi. Yeah, hey, it's me. Yeah, oh, I just want to say hi. Merry Christmas, blah, blah. He fulfills Heather's last dying wish, and then as he plans to exit the phone booth, he realizes he's surrounded by a horde of zombies. And that's when the movie ends. We can only assume that he dies at that moment, or they're going to make a sequel. But this movie came out in 2013, which was 7 years ago, so they're probably not making a sequel. Unless there is one. I didn't look. I don't know. I liked it, though. It's fun. It's good. It's shitty, but I don't know. It's a good movie. The baddest award goes to toilet paper for wrapping up WC and protecting him from the evil zombie bites. You see, toilet paper is the hero. I saw a lady at Walmart just 2 days ago, older woman. She was stocking up because we're in quarantine part 2. She's starting the toilet paper hoarding all over again. I looked at her and I was like, what are you doing with all that toilet paper? And she has this look like, what? I don't leave the house much. I always buy toilet paper like that. And it's like, you know what? Just stop it. You're making fools out of everyone. That's not how you buy toilet paper. You leave the house all the time and you fucking know it. Just admit it. Quit being a liar. What did we learn? Survival tales. Don't go to company Christmas parties. Don't pop pills in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Be yourself. I know it sucks when somebody rejects the real you, but you'll never feel like more of a ghost than pretending to be somebody you're not in a relationship. Just be you. And if you don't like you, and if you can't get somebody else to like you, then you need to work on you. That's all, folks. I will see you very soon, though. You're gonna be so sick of me by the time December's over. Cheers.